Hi and welcome to the MMA Zing, where today we're going to take a look at the main card highlights of EFC 131, the Knox Legacy Series from Cape Town, because it was pretty spectacular with some great fights going down in front of a sold-out crowd at the Grand Arena in Grand West. It was the first EFC event in the Mother City in 7 years, and the action and atmosphere more than made up for our time away, with 5 Cape Townians on that card, 4 titles up for grabs, setting that crowd on fire. So let's get into it straight away with the main event, because it was an incredible performance from Diego Bandu, who looked in the best form of his life and took the belt from the middleweight champion Luke Michael to become the new title holder in dominant fashion, thanks to a superb left hand and very impressive grappling against a man who many consider to be one of the best wrestlers in the EFC. But the fight was not without a fair amount of controversy, with Luke's camp launching an appeal with the governing body, not just about issues surrounding the weigh-in the day before, but principally about an elbow to the spine in the first round, and also complaining about shots to the back of the head. So I thought I'd bring in an objective voice about this from my colleague in Detroit, Michigan, who just completed Mark Goddard's refereeing course, Karl Keller. Karl, firstly, what's your opinion about that elbow to the spine?
I've got to say, refereeing is the hardest job in this sport, in this industry, aside from fighting. So let me preface with that. The elbow to the spine was pretty blatant. Like, the camera angle was perfect. The 12-6, obviously, that's completely legal now, but you have to be careful of your target zone. And he drove that thing straight down to within maybe an inch or two of the spinal cord of Luke. So, yeah, that was an illegal shot. And I believe the fight was stopped there, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, the fight was stopped. Everybody was fine. There was no mechanical issues with him. He didn't actually – it didn't seem to bother him too much. It really didn't. It cracked him 100%. And fight was stopped. A point was not taken. I'm sure the opposing fighter was given a warning, wasn't it? There was a bit of controversy about that in the broadcast.
I don't recall him being given a warning, but my eyes at the time were on the replay to see the foul in the first place. The referee checked with Luke and said, you've just been fouled, are you okay? And Luke said yes. But at that point, the adrenaline is surging through your veins and you've popped back up to your feet. And with a foul like that, there's no reset to the ground. So he's happy probably to be back in a standing position. And with that adrenaline, he wants to carry on and is focused on getting one back on his opponent, perhaps.
The only thing I see a slight flaw with that situation, and we might not have seen it, it could have been between rounds, is that Bandu would have been given a warning. Like, you made an illegal strike there. You had full control over your body. The fighter was not turning into the shot, turning away from the shot, which we'll get into later with the elbows. It was an illegal shot. He should have been given a warning. But as far as bringing the doctor in for a shot like that, what's the doctor going to do? He's not going to bust out an MRI right there on the mats and check out if he's okay. Mechanically, he was fine. Mentally, he was fine. And he seemed very, very keen to continue as quickly as possible. So aside from the lack of warning, I think that was a fair exchange.
And your thoughts on the shots to the back of the head, because that's also part of the losing fighter's appeal.
Now, there was 2 kind of separate incidents where, when I was watching the fight back, where it looked like there could have been shots to the back of the head. Are you referring to the shots to the back of the head that were right at the finishing sequence, or earlier in the fight?
Both.
Okay. Earlier in the fight, as I looked at it, he had him in a beautiful side control position. Michael was turning onto his side a little bit. He was driving down those nice forceful elbows, targeting the ear. There was one that I freeze framed, and it definitely hit him behind the ear. 100%. But if you notice that as he's launching that elbow in, you can see Michael's leaning up into him to try and almost go for that slightly, just to reference deep half guardist position, where you're really tucking your head into your opponent's hips. And if there's an elbow flying at your head, that's going to be the reaction. But the intended target, I do not believe, was the back of the head. Even if you look at the second round, Bandu knows the rules. In the second round, there was an exchange where Bandu was getting back to his feet. And I believe you even said it on commentary, where Bandu posts off the head. He thought about throwing a knee. He thought about it very, very consciously and backed away. So it's not like these shots are going to come intentionally. If he wanted to be brutal, he would have just soccer kicked him in the face right there.
Yeah, I agree. He was very cognizant in that situation. In conclusion, then, do you think that Luke has grounds for appeal, regardless of the technicalities about the weigh-in the day before, purely based on what you saw in the fight?
The way I look at it is he wasn't winning that fight.
Yeah, he was getting pounded.
He was getting beaten up. That was the best I've ever seen Bandu look. Like, he was utilizing his range. He was up against a more experienced grappler, and he was out grappling him. He really was. Like, he was doing great. He had so much top control time. He was forcefully imposing ground and pound beautifully. I feel like he's clutching at straws a little bit. Like, I don't know the guy. I don't know his fighting style. I don't know too much of his history, but it didn't look like there was any malicious intent involving those elbows. He was trying to land clean shots. He didn't seem like he was being dirty. Obviously, that situation in the second round, if you want to be dirty, that's how you be dirty.
So if you were Luke Michael, would you appeal, yes or no?
Oh, putting me on the spot with that one. No, I wouldn't. Like, if it was one of those situations where I was winning the fight, I was dominating, and I got cracked in the back of the head and really fell off my rocker, yeah, I would contest that. But again, I'm not in there. I didn't feel what Luke felt. I can't really state that. And have you ever been hit in the back of the head?
Yeah, once, and it completely messed with my vision. One shot to the back of the head is all it needs, even if the follow-up shots are completely fine.
And then you make that a shot from Diego Bandu, who literally is a trained killer in that fashion. I mean, legitimately, he's got machete in his nickname, right? Like the guy's fighting with machetes. So I'm pretty sure he knows how to throw a good elbow. But those kind of shots can change your entire life. I mean, Luke, if one of those clipped him properly, right back there under the ear where everything's soft, for everybody out there watching, just take the blade of your hand and jar the back of your head right under your ear. It shutters all of your vision. It changes everything. And if you're already fatigued, already kind of on the rocker, and then that happens, yeah, that could drastically change the outcome of the fight. So again, going back to you putting me on the spot there, I don't know.
Well, you put me on the spot when we commentate, so it's fair game. But there was similar controversy in the co-main event between Faeez Jacobs and Trent Gurdon regarding shots to the back of the head. And you and I have talked about the last UAE Warriors show in the main event between Kaya Machado and Tom Breese. Why do we continue having the same conversation, Karl?
Because it's just this is a game of unlimited variables. You put two men in there, or women, who are just absolutely geared. They're redlining in their format of human combat. They're going for it completely. And then you throw in all of these variables and all of these rules with these specific lines of where you can hit and where you cannot, like directly across the top of the ears, 2 to 3 inch mohawk down the back of the spine. But this spot's okay, but this spot's not. Literally, I think, in my opinion, the only thing that professional fighters listen to these days is, as long as I'm hitting you in the ear, it's a legal shot. They're not sitting there in their head in that moment thinking, okay, that's right across the top of the ears there, I'm going to throw in at that angle. That's not going to happen. It's a game of unlimited variables, and that's why we keep coming to this situation. And I don't know what the solution is. I don't think there is one. You listen to guys like Joe Rogan, he's like, let him hit people in the back of the head. And it's like, well, understood, except you're not the one being hit in the back of the head. So it's like, I don't want that to be legal. So I think it's just one of those situations where, people need to go and do the Mark Goddard reffing and judging course. People need to get that Harvard standard of refereeing so that they understand exactly where these target points are and the rules that go along with it. If you are targeting your opponent's ear in a legal zone and they turn in, and they turn away from you after that shot's been fired, that's on you. So those kind of things that maybe the general public doesn't really understand that. Going back to that first round where Bandu was whipping down on Michaels and he turned into him. Yeah, that landed in the back of your head, but you kind of put it there in a horrible way. It's a human reaction to tuck in, but it still landed. So...
Yeah, I've got a feeling we're going to have this chat again. Regardless, Diego put in the best performance of his career to take the title. Can't wait to see who he takes on next for his first title defense. And Luke, hopefully, will lick his wounds and come back stronger. Karl, many thanks again for your input.
Always a pleasure, Simon. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Well, if that fight wasn't exciting enough, the crowd was certainly satiated by another stunning win for the bantamweight champ of Africa, Faeez Jacobs, who took on the highly experienced Aussie Trent Gurdon, who caused the troublemaker A lot of problems. Joining me to chat about this and the rest of that killer main card is the former EFC bantamweight champion and PFL Africa commentator, Demarte "The Wolf" Pena. Demarte, a great come-from-behind win for Faeez. Trent complaining about those multiple shots to the back of the head. What's your take on it?
I mean, absolutely. I think the fight went completely against what I thought. I thought Faeez was going to be more effective on the striking, and then also the grappling as well. I thought maybe that's where this disadvantage was going to come from. He did manage to get a few reversals in there, but I think he was being controlled most of the fight. But kudos to him. He showed a lot of heart to come back and then get the win. So very interesting the way the fight went.
Do you think that Trent has a reason to complain about the shots to the back of the head? They say they want to launch an appeal. I don't think they will. I think Trent's moved on, but he did complain a lot about it.
Look, I don't think Faeez threw those shots on purpose. Look, it does happen in as the fight is going on. You know, sometimes your opponent turns the other way and gets hit at the back of the head. Look, at the end of the day, Faeez managed to come out of problems, it's more specifically on the striking. I didn't think that Trent was going to be that good on the striking. He was picking shots very well, making Faeez miss. But at the end of the day, I mean, Faeez showed a lot of heart and showed why he's the champion now.
He did indeed. So let's move on to the flyweight title fight between Tumelo Manyamala and Ntando Zondi. And I know, as Ntando's coach and mentor, you were a bit disappointed about the scorecards. How would you score it now after watching the fight again?
Look, I think obviously as a coach and not just a coach, is also a friend of mine. When I was watching the fight there, I mean, I thought we won the fight because we could see that Manyamala was throwing a lot of shots, but putting the pressure. He did get the more significant shots, I believe. But we could see that he was missing a lot, and then Zondi is very evasive. But afterwards, I mean, I've spoken to numerous of individuals, obviously in the space of in terms of the commentators. I spoke to a few other fighters, and I spoke to also referees and the sort. So, I mean, the consensus was that because Zondi was moving a lot, and then Manyamala was putting a lot more pressure, that was seen as him being more aggressive in a sense, and maybe that's why the judges gave him the score. So, I think looking more from the outside view, I think Zondi's versions was not that good for him. I feel that he did a lot better when he was actually in front of Manyamala and then throwing those shots. So I think that's why he lost the fight.
Well, Cyrus Faeez on the commentary said that with a little more aggression, Zondi could have won the fight. So there's lots of positives from Ntando coming out of it.
Absolutely. I think the problem with Zondi, I think that he evades too much and sometimes doesn't follow up with the counters. I just feel like when he was in Tumelo's face, he was doing a lot better. Tumelo was missing, but he wasn't moving a lot so much. But when he was moving a lot, he wasn't getting hit, but it looked like Tumelo was the one who was doing more work. So I think that's the thing. Like, he just needs to adjust now, being evasive and countering, and not just avoiding. It's like Adesanya, like, he's able to avoid your shots, but he still picks you apart. So he manages that distance really well. I think for Zondi now, that's the next step, is managing the distance, still avoiding the shots, but not being too evasive.
The crazy thing, it was like a few weeks before the fight, you were telling me that you're quite a fan of Tumelo Manyamala as well. Good fighter, great attitude.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing about him is such a disciplined striker. If you look at the way he fought, hands up, always proper combinations, repeats them constantly. He's like a disciplined fight for him. He's setting up that right hand, occasionally throwing the right kick. Good defense, good takedown defense. I mean, the guy is a good fighter. I mean, I've been a fan of him for a long time, not just now before Zondi's fight. So I mean, kudos to him. He got the win. I feel like for him now, maybe he can just add on in these combinations because he's someone that's very predictable. And then we could see all his shots, But the problem was that obviously we didn't capitalize bets on them. But he was throwing that double jab cross or hook cross and then occasional kicking. There was not much that he brought, but he's really, really good at what he does.
So Adrian Sanchez also looked in great form. Another win over an international opponent in Jefferson Pereira to take the interim lightweight title. What do you think of his fight?
I mean, he showed a lot of grit, a lot of heart. I think that's the biggest thing, is that there's a lot of things possibly to clean up. Maybe a little bit of the cardio, a little bit of the entries into the takedown. But the guy shot a lot of heart, you know. I feel like certain positions in the striking could have done a lot better, especially in the entries. But he grinded out that win. I mean, respect to him. I know a few people that know of him, seen his journey. He's improved quite a lot as a fighter, so I'm happy for him.
And kicking off the main card was Terence Bilelo and Cleberson South. So they won the Fight of the Night bonus. Terence, he's got his eyes on the UFC, but if he doesn't get the call up, surely a showdown with Manyamala is next for the Black Panther. And if so, how do you see that fight going down?
I mean, Bilelo, one of my favorite fighters as well. I think it's just willingness to fight. Is like those kind of guys that are just never scared to step in there, you know. So I really like Bilelo. I really hope that he can get an opportunity to possibly go down a white contender or some kind of, you know, if he gets signed straight away. I like his mentality. He's a real fighter. His fight was doing really well, but obviously when you fight a guy that wants to just take you down, it's very difficult to let go, you know, with your striking. He did manage to drop him and then almost finish the fight, but it's difficult when you want to strike against somebody that just wants to take you down. So I think he really did well to adjust. You know, he did what he had to do, and I'm really happy for him.
When you see, let's go back to Faeez quickly before we finish. He's the bantamweight champ. You wore that belt for quite a few years with a record amount of title defenses. Do you ever feel the itch to go back inside the EFC hexagon and perhaps challenge for that old belt again?
You know, I mean, obviously you know this, and a lot of people on the inside knew this, that they wanted to give me this fight. But for me, honestly, it's not in my... I don't think winning an EFC title is going to do a lot more for my career now. It's possibly only more detrimental. You go in there, let's say you lose against Faeez, you know. So, but at the end of the day, you know, I've did my part in EFC. I think don't go and ruin something that you've already cemented, you know. So to be honest, that wouldn't be the wisest thing to do, even though maybe I feel like I could have beat him or not, you know. But at the end of the day, it's like, why do that again? Or you become a UFC champion again, and then now what, you know? At least becoming an Aries champion, adding on to what I've done, possibly now maybe UAE coming back and then possibly getting another shot at that. I think that adds more value to my resume than chasing a belt that I've already won plenty times more than anybody. My record in UFC is the best out of everyone that's been there. So, I mean, it's really not smart. Yeah.
Well, why would you if you're going to be working with me at PFL Africa in Pretoria on the 10th of April?
Yeah, exactly. I think also as a fighter, you need to understand stages. You know, now you need to be smarter with the choices of the fights that you take. Like going to lose, let's say you lose at UAE, yes, it happens. Anybody can lose. You don't always feel good. But at the end of the day, sometimes you can get away with some losses than the others. You know, let's say now you go in there, you're doing well against Faeez, and then he catches you and you lose. So all that you've worked towards all those years, you know, you were a different fighter then, different goals then, and then everything will just come crashing down. So I think I'm happy with what I've done with at EFC.
Well, thanks for your time today, Demarte. I'll see you at PFL Africa in Pretoria on the 10th of April, mate.
See you soon, brother. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap of EFC 131 Knox Legacy Series. Can't wait to return to Cape Town as soon as possible because, as we've just been discussing, every time the EFC heads south, something truly special always happens. Stay on this channel for our next show, which is a deep dive into the UAE Warriors doubleheader coming up in a fortnight. That promises to be an absolute cracker. Thanks for watching today. Cheers for now.